Takes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz leading you into the holiday weekend right here on the Believe Network. Hope everybody is excited for Thanksgiving. We'll try to make it a little bit more fun as well if you're commuting somewhere for the travel weekend ahead. We are, of course, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, and I'm your host, Russ Heltman on Bearcat Blitz. You can check out my work at Cincinnati Bearcats on SI. Welcome in Neil Meyer from the frontofficenews.com. Check out his work there in just a few moments. We got some basketball to touch on. We're kind of in between games in this section of the calendar, and they're games that the Bearcats, it would be DEFCON 1 if they lost any of these before the action against Xavier next Friday in the Crosstown Shootout. So we'll discuss, will this team, with how much they want to shoot the three ball, end up getting these three-point shooters numbers up to their normal career status? We'll touch on that. And there's also a new graphic out on the success of Wes Miller so far through his tenure. Great stuff from the Viva La Cats pod that we will shout out there and discuss a little bit before we get to a TCU football preview, what's expected to be a very tight game. And we have a very tight betting line for you on that one. We'll preview the TCU action this weekend as Cincinnati tries to end their football season at 8-4 overall, and a result that will play a big factor in next Sunday's bowl decision to see if they will get the best possible bowl chance or a bowl chance reserved for teams 7 wins or less in the Power Conference hierarchy. Before that, though, we got to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Hopefully your choice this weekend for all the holiday football action. And they have a betting lineup for the Cincinnati Bearcats battle against TCU. You see a 3.5-point underdog now. The line has moved from 5.5 to 4.5 to now 3.5. Makes a lot of sense considering how tight I think this one will be here. A 56.5-point total on the board for that game. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook to check out those matchups at the top place to make your bets this weekend. Big holiday weekend coming up. We'll get to all of it after these messages on Bearcat Blitz. Bringing Neil Meyer now from the frontofficenews.com. And Neil, we'll start off this show with obviously a big win by the Bearcats over NJIT, 94-67. Not a whole lot with that kind of result that I would say you can take away, although I hope everybody listened to Neil when he gave out the projection of a cover by NJIT. Came down to the wire there in the final few minutes. You could hear people left in the crowd obviously having some investment there, and the Highlanders were able to cover that game and send Cincinnati to 2-4 against the spread, Neil, so far this season. And kind of the biggest reason for that, I would say, has been the lack of consistent, efficient three-point shooting. You look at where they are so far this season. They're taking 28 threes per game, and they're hitting roughly 31%, 68th nationally in three-point attempts, 272nd nationally in three-point percentage, and they are currently hitting the 136th most threes per game on the entire national docket. So you look at the entire team as a whole and the three-point percentage outside of Day Thomas, who's smacking a whopping 53.6% of his attempts, and Jordy Rodriguez, who has not taken a whole lot this season, but still shooting 41.7%. I mean, Kirk Kriesa, Neil, down about 7% from his career average. Jalen Celestine as well, very much down from his career average. And we asked Wes Miller about that after the game on Monday. He's obviously not worried about Jalen Celestine, who continues to try to work his way back from the major injury he recovered from in the offseason. But he was a 37.5% career shooter coming into this game on 389 attempts. So you'd think that will turn around. Same with Kirk Kriesa at 720 attempts in his career, 36% career shooter. Baba Miller, who is nursing that injury and is day-to-day, according to Wes Miller. We'll see if he plays tonight. I would be pretty surprised to see him out there. Much more likely, I would say, for the Monday action against Tarleton State. But he's shooting 14% this year, career 31% shooter. Mustafa Cham hasn't really gotten any of his limited three-point shots to go down, 10% as a 27% shooter. And then Sean Abayev got going a little bit in Monday's win over the NJIT Highlanders, career high in points, but didn't necessarily get super cooking from downtown, was more so balanced, which is what you want to see from Sean Abayev with his scoring output there. But 26% for him on the season after shooting right around 35% for overtime or in overtime elite. Neil, maybe it's just a new environment for these guys, getting used to new shooting settings. That's kind of all I can really attribute this to, especially for those guys in Kirk Kriesa and Jalen Celestine who have combined over 1,050 career attempts. And if you average them out, are 37% shooters on those attempts. You got to think that the strategy that Wes Miller is employing will eventually get more consistent as they kind of, I think, smartly scheduled an easier first half of the non-conference, a much harder back half of the non-conference, and we know how difficult the conference slate is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, Russ, speaking about Monday night, hopefully some of you guys who listen to the podcast were actually able to take the advice and say, hey, take NJIT to cover this game. You would have went home with some money right before the holidays. So hopefully some people ended up doing that. But overall in this game, Russ, I'm right there with you. This three-point shooting team needs to find a way to get guys going for Cincinnati. I mean, looking down at the stats, we saw it the other night. I think it was you and I who said it. And once Jalen Celestine went, 0 for 4 to start the game, Wes Miller kind of said he didn't look like himself.
Right. The shot looked flat, too, at that.
And
didn't look like his legs were there necessarily.
And when Wes Miller kind of noted that he wasn't, quote unquote, moving like himself, they kind of went a different route in terms of rotations and whatnot. So he only played 2 minutes in the second half. But if Baba Miller is going to be out for an extended period of time, Russ, it's going to get interesting to see who might be that starting guy at the 4 position. We see it. We saw Jalen Celestine.
I'd expect
tonight.
Harris tonight, wouldn't you? Buck Harris, with how well he's been playing. I would be pretty surprised if he's not in the starting
I would expect Buck, or I would expect Tyler McKinley. Those would be the two guys that I would be kind of trending towards right now, especially with how Sincere finished and flashed the offensive side of the ball the other night, which was a great sight to see. But for me, man, Tyler McKinley's been very impressive for a guy who has only played 6 collegiate basketball games. So when you look down and you see Tyler McKinley, he's not going to fill up the stat sheet offensively yet, but I would not be surprised if there's a breakout game coming for Tyler McKinley just because he affects the game in so many different ways. And it was unique to hear Wes Miller kind of say, like, hey, he's not essentially not a glue guy. He is a winning player, is how Wes Miller phrased it. And that is Tyler McKinley. That is Tyler McKinley. So it's going to be interesting for me, Russ, who will be that guy starting tonight. Now, you have a couple different options. It'll be interesting to see if Jalen Celestine is that guy. But for me, I think, like you mentioned, I think tonight we'll probably see a different starting lineup. Maybe a Sincere Harris or a Tyler McKinley at that aspect. But like you mentioned, Russ, three-point shooting has to find a way to increase for Cincinnati. I mean, Baba Miller, 14% in limited attempts, but Sean Abayev, 26%, and he got one the other night. Day Thomas has been your only staple from behind the arc,
and funny enough, Neil, Day Thomas is the only guy who's had years of experience shooting in this gym. So maybe that is a big factor.
Maybe that is maybe that is the problem. But Russ, when you look down and you see these shooting numbers, it's great to see Jordi Rodriguez shooting at a 41% clip from behind the arc, despite not playing in the last 2 games.
Right. And I think he had a career high in points against NJIT. Massive to get him going a little bit because, I mean, Neil, top 30 5 still in pace this season. I mean, you'd love to only be able to use 8 guys if that's your top kind of usage in the tournament, Big 12 tournament or the NCAA tournament, but throughout the whole season, it's going to take 10 men to be able to pull off this pace up style at the highest effect of this.
Yeah, and for a team in Cincinnati that likes to get out and run, you're going to need to see them get out and run and be able to score the ball in a flurry for a team that wants to push the tempo. So it's going to be interesting here. So hopefully they find some momentum here heading into Eastern Michigan. But Russ, I do expect them to be shorthanded again tonight, and I don't think we see Baba Miller out on the floor for Cincinnati this evening as well, just for a couple of different reasons in terms of the injury, the playing a safe route. You got Xavier next week. You got NJIT. You got Tarleton State. And outside of Tarleton State and Dior Johnson, these should be 2 games that Cincinnati kind of take care of business and have a great opportunity to get him fully healthy heading into Xavier.
Yeah, tonight against Eastern Michigan, they're 33.5-point favorites against NJIT, and on the FanDuel Sportsbook, they are 23.5-point favorites right now. Public money coming in on Eastern Michigan to cover that game as a tier higher than NJIT in every aspect. I mean, I think they're 237th nationally on KenPom to NJIT's ranking in the bottom 20 on that metric. So out of 360 plus teams. So interesting to see these numbers so far, Neil. I mean, Day Thomas, shout out to him, man. He has been lights out for this team, shooting 53.6% from deep, only 37.3% from the floor. So you'd like some of those rim attempts to maybe fall a little bit more consistently for Day Thomas, but 95% from the free throw line. That leads all Big 12 players as of right now. He has obviously become very comfortable in the confines of Fifth Third Arena. We'll see if some of these other guys can find some more comfort inside of the home gym, which you'd think would happen over the next few weeks. And if this team can hit at a 35% clip from 3, figure out a way, somehow, some way, to go over 70% on the season from the free throw line for the second time only in the Wes Miller era, then you're going to really start seeing these point totals and these results flip more Cincinnati's way, especially on the spread side, where Cincinnati, I mean, they're taking 26.7 free throw attempts per game. That's 48th in the country, but you're only shooting 63.8%, 337th in the country. Gotta bring those closer together. And if you're a fan, you want to see that free throw number get a lot closer to that 48 and that 48 go up even higher. So looking at kind of where we sit right now with Wes Miller, this was a great graphic that actually just came out from the Viva La Cats pod over the last hour or so. They kind of broke down Wes Miller's record and where it stands in some of these big games, Neil. And it's something that has to turn around, you'd think, sooner rather than later if this team wants to make the NCAA tournament for the first time in the Wes Miller era. 6-21 against AP top 25 teams with a minus 4.7 scoring margin in those games. 8-8 versus all non-conference power conference teams in the Wes Miller era. They're 0-11 versus the AP top 10. Since the 23-24 season, they're 5-13 against the AP top 25. So obviously a lot of big struggles, and most of those top 25 matchups in the first couple Wes Miller seasons were only against Houston, who was one of the top 5 teams in the country, has been a top 5 team in the country this entire decade. 3-2, Neil, versus ranked teams 16-25. 0-9 versus Houston. And that 0-9 versus Houston number, it's like, that's where we'll start. I think we're gonna have that one coming up in a little more than a month's time, starting off the Big 12 slate. If you can find a way to beat Houston once this season, that might be enough, Neil, to swing you into the NCAA tournament with 10-8 record, a 9-9 record in the conference. One of those wins against this team that you're measuring yourself against, that you've entered this conference with at the same time, would be so massive. They're the top rival right now in terms of the cream of the crop that you want to measure yourself against. Obviously, Xavier's the top rival in the entire kind of realm of UC college basketball, but you're measuring yourself against Houston, and to go 0-11 versus them throughout the first 5 years of the Wes Miller era would be pretty disappointing. It would obviously add more losses on that AP top 25 side. eventually they got to take out this Houston team at some point. You just got to find a way to do it. It's got to happen if you want to eventually reach your goals and reach the level that you want to be at this program.
Yeah, absolutely, Russ. And I mean, when you look down and you think of this Houston basketball team and the program that Calvin Sampson is building, this Houston team has had Wes Miller's number since he arrived at Cincinnati. I think everybody knows that. But when you look down, like you mentioned, if they are
Minus
able,
12.7 scoring margin. So it hasn't really been close consistently in these games either.
right, and if you look down, if Cincinnati is able to find a way to beat Houston at least one time, like you mentioned, they're in the conference play. That could be single-handedly hold enough momentum come towards the end of the season and Selection Sunday, where if you are 9-9 or 10-8, like you mentioned, that one win could single-handedly have an opportunity to sneak you into the NCAA tournament versus going 9-9 with all your wins coming in against teams like Colorado, West Virginia, TCU, Oklahoma State, those lower teams in the Big 12, a Utah per se. But it's going to be interesting to see, hey, what does Cincinnati do differently this time? Because I mean, Russ, you look at this Houston team. This is a gauntlet. This is a very tough Houston
I
team.
don't know. They got even better with that freshman. I forget what his name is, the freshman point guard, but Flemings.
Kingston Flemings.
Yeah, he's nasty. One of the top freshmen among many top freshmen so far this year.
Yeah, and there's a good chance for us too. Like this Houston team, I mean, like years past, could arguably go through and win it all. They have the experience, but they've gotten better as things went forward here. But Russ, for me, Cincinnati's got to find a way with this metric here from Viva La Cats podcast. They're going to have to find a way to not only beat Houston, because you got to think the Big 12, when you look down at Cincinnati's basketball schedule, which is what I'm going to pull up here really shortly, they are going to have plenty of opportunities this year, like it in recent years. You look down, scroll into the conference play here. Houston, going to be ranked top 10 probably when that matchup comes along.
5 to 6 top 25 matchups, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Iowa State's going to be a top 25. Arizona might be a top 10. Baylor might be ranked again. So there's a lot. And then you got Kansas, you got Texas Tech, like BYU.
Yep.
So there's going to be your opportunities there. And if you can single-handedly, like the Houston win is going to hold the most weight, in my opinion. But that Arizona, if they can go out to Arizona and pick up a win out there too, that will be huge. But for Cincinnati, they're going to have to find ways to get this offense going. They're going to have to find ways to get healthy in order to get to that 9-9 mark in Big 12 play, or that 10-8 mark. Because Russ, right now, if Baba Miller's out an extended period of time and maybe misses a little bit of conference play, and then already without Jalen Haynes, I don't know if I see this Bearcats team going 9-9 in Big 12 play, because Baba Miller is that big of a force and that big of a piece to this team.
Right. And you're obviously not going to do much to put a dent in those ranked issues throughout the Wes Miller era if you are dealing with those injuries, which, you can't really control that, but we could feel it on Monday night. The lack of Baba Miller, the lack of slashing inside, the lack of an ability to put the ball on the floor and be able to get to the basket in those kind of crunched up half court moments. It was clear. And UC did actually creep up, though, in offensive rating to 160th nationally on Ken Palm, and they are still third nationally in defensive rating on Ken Palm with a 48th overall rating among all teams on that site. Getting to a break here, and then we'll get to some TCU preview action as the Cincinnati Bearcats football team prepares for its final regular season game of the 2025 season. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz. Neil, Cincinnati taking on the TCU Horned Frogs in Texas this coming weekend on the gridiron. The Bearcats trying to break what I think is, I'm pretty sure it's a 2-2 tie all time between these teams on the football field. Cincinnati enters this game, a 3:30 p.m. kickoff on Fox with a 38.4% chance on ESPN's matchup predictor to get the win. and a 3.5-point betting spread on FanDuel Sportsbook, which you can make your choice to wager on this game this weekend. Cincinnati, a plus 136 underdog to get the victory as well. No more chances for them to win the Big 12 this year, but the Bearcats basketball team still has odds for the Big 12 regular season title. They're currently looking at 60-1 odds, so even longer as of this recording than when we recorded earlier this week. They were 50-1 earlier on Monday. But getting back to the game here, Neil, Josh Hoover, 25 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, prolific passer, 3,166 yards so far this season. And you got a TCU offense that is 29th nationally in EPA per dropback, very solid across the board, but not necessarily elite. 33rd in overall EPA margin to Cincinnati's 41st overall mark. And two teams that are playing for that 8th victory on the season, TCU 4-4 in the Big 12, the Bearcats 5-3 in the Big 12. Two teams that are going to be super hungry, Neil, and it's pretty much a toss-up to me on this one. I think you and I were pretty confident that BYU would get the victory last week, considering how consistent they've been all season, but there are pressure points here where Cincinnati can push down and find themselves with an 8th victory on the 2025 slate.
Yeah, Russ, and when you look forward to this matchup, this is a matchup where you and I both kind of talked about it. Like, this could be a game where it could be even. It could be a back and forth battle. Josh Hoover, a guy who loves to stand in the pocket and actually use his arm to win games. You got two talented receivers in Eric McAllister and another wide receiver who have both been over 1,000 yards this season. So it's going to be interesting to see how does this Cincinnati defense kind of hold up, right? Following the BYU game, and how does the 3-3-5 withstand a team that's going to throw the ball around the yard a little bit? So for me, Russ, in this game, Cincinnati is going to have to make plays on both sides of the ball. But most importantly, they're going to have to find ways to wrap up and tackle and get to Josh Hoover, because everybody knows he's not going to beat you with your legs. But if you give him the opportunity to extend plays with his arm, he will make you pay. So it's going to be
they've
interesting.
Struggled to protect him a little bit this year. 18th in pressure rate allowed and just 50th nationally in sack EPA. Or not, they've struggled to keep him upright when he has been pressured, but pressure rate has been pretty solid. They're 18th nationally in pressure rate allowed, so that means they're good, only allowing pressure 27% of the time, but 50th in sack EPA allowed. So when you get pressure on him, he can be brought down, like you mentioned. Like, he's not going to be really mobile compared to what we're expecting to see from Brennan Sorsby.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you look forward to Cincinnati on the offensive side of the ball, Russ, it's going to be interesting to see, can they find a way to get Joe Royer involved? We've been asking for what feels like the whole season. How do you get Joe Royer involved? It's going to be interesting. Dude,
I think I'm the only one that really doesn't care about that storyline. I don't like, he's been one of the highest graded tight ends in the country on Pro Football Focus. He's doing exactly what they're asking of him, and they have one of the most prolific offenses in the country. Brennan Sorsby has been a top 12 quarterback in the nation. He's not missing Joe Royer, and so I get why people want to see him make some more plays. But I mean, like last week, for example, people were bringing up the Joe Royer thing. That was like the least of the Bearcats' issues in that game of getting the ball to Joe Royer. Sorsby still threw for like 8 yards per attempt, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. They couldn't run the football, and they can't maintain control of the football, which is their biggest issue right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the biggest issue, like you mentioned, taking control of the football. I mean, Russ, I think BYU had the ball for 40 minutes on Saturday night. You're not going to win a game if you only have the ball for, 5 possessions, 6 possessions at that rate, maybe.
As evidenced by Cincinnati's 118th ranking in quality drive rate. They're just giving up quality drives up and down the field all game long.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, especially on Saturday, because I know most of these guys, they want to send a guy out like Gavin Gerhardt, send him out up top. So it's going to be interesting to see how this offense comes along. And then Russ, too, we also got some news on the offensive coaching staff for Cincinnati. Nick Cardwell, a nominee for the Broyles Award, which is respectfully well earned, to say the least. So
one of 63 candidates for the award this year.
And it would not be surprise me if he would be a finalist for that award either, with the job he's done with this offensive line. And it's interesting too, noting that, Russ, because I talked to Evan Tangenstall yesterday after practice, and I kind of brought that up to him, and nobody had any idea. It sounded like player-wise that Coach Cardwell was nominated for that.
That's
so
cool.
It was a cool reaction to see from Evan and whatnot. So overall, but Russ, they're going to have to win the battle of the trenches on Saturday night. It starts with the big guys up front again.
Overall, previewing this game kind of quickly, Cincinnati offense versus this TCU defense. Can you run the football in this game? Can you consistently maintain control of the ball, stay ahead of the sticks? It's not going to be super easy against a team that does not allow a lot of missed tackles, not allow a lot of yards after contact. But Cincinnati, I mean, they've been very good this year. 19th in yards before contact, 19th or 15th in yards after contact. They're forcing missed tackles at a high rate. And can you continue to run Brendan Sorsby? Can you get him close to 10 to 12 carries in this game? Get him on some of those designed runs and maybe be able to attack that part of the TCU defense, which has been very strong this year. But overall, I mean, TCU, they're not going to bring a lot of pressure in this game. I don't think. They're 84th nationally in pressure rate. Don't think they're going to be able to get after Brendan Sorsby very often. And they're giving up a ton of scramble EPA. I mean, Neil, Brendan Sorsby cannot be as conservative as he was in the game against BYU with his legs. He has to be able to be more willing, especially in clean pockets when he's got coverage really strong down the field. Go out and run on 2nd and 10. Go out and run on 1st and 10. Take advantage of those scramble lanes, especially when they are open to you like they were too often against BYU that he didn't take. Still is doing a good job of taking care of the football, but that turnover-worthy play rate has creeped up. He's got 4 turnover-worthy plays in the past 2 games. Still top 8 nationally in that metric on Pro Football Focus, but something that you want to keep an eye on here against TCU's defense. And they can be thrown on. I mean, 45th in EPA per dropback, much better against the run. But if you can't run the ball at all in this game, as similar to how you were against BYU, then you're going to be putting way too much pressure on Sorsby's arm, and you're going to be putting way too much pressure on this defense, which is giving up drives at will. And you got to find a way to protect this defense a little bit more than they have. Yes, you want to score. Yes, you want to score quickly, but scoring too fast has hurt the Bearcats in the month of November so far, a month where they're 1-10 in the Scott Satterfield era and have really struggled in the second halves of these games as well. So looking at the Cincinnati offense, you got to find a way to be 4.5 yards per carry consistently, even out the time of possession at just a little bit at least. You'd like to get close to 28, 29 minutes time of possession here and try to just overcome a stat where you're 4 minutes lower than any other team in the nation in time of possession on offense. But it can be done. I mean, this team in TCU, Neil, they'll let you run up and down the field on them with some solid play sequencing. They're 105th nationally in quality drive rate on defense, while Cincinnati's 118th. Whichever team can execute in the red zone here and really take advantage of that clock is probably going to come away with a win. So I like the Bearcats' chances here. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you got to find a way to turn over Josh Hoover. I mean, he's been willing to give you the football this year, 13 interceptions, which is one of the worst marks in the entire country. He's a guy that's just been giving up the ball at will throughout these games, and a guy you have to find a way to add to that 2 overall interception total against. It's just been not enough turnover wise for this Cincinnati Bearcats team. Yeah, Hoover's 2nd most interceptions among all FBS quarterbacks this year, Neil. They got to intercept him in this game, got to find a way to take advantage when those balls are in harm's way. They batted some into the air against Bachmeier, but they just kept fluttering right to the ground with nobody even in the area to try to dive for him for an interception. So that's a huge factor in this one. Cannot let him turn into a very efficient quarterback and maintaining control of the football. And that's going to help you win the time possession battle there as well. And then when you look at this team, they're not going to get much pressure on Josh Hoover. I mean, Cincinnati 106th in pressure rate, TCU 18th in pressure rate allowed, but they're also not really going to beat you with their legs, like I mentioned. So if you can play decent coverage, be able to be bend, don't break here, and find 1 or 2 turnovers, which I think they will end up doing in this game, I'm going to have the Bearcats winning 28-27. I think they go for it consistently in this matchup. 37th nationally UC is in 3rd and 4th down success rate to TCU's 76th overall mark. Be in 4-down territory basically every time you're past your own 40. Be willing to run the ball on 3rd down on those 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 situations to catch them off guard there. I like the Bearcats to win this game. I don't think they really attempt a field goal after what happened last week. They go pedal to the middle with nothing left, nothing to lose, letting it rip, according to Brendan Sorsby, and they get the job done 28-27. What do you got for a result?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And like you mentioned, too, the difference maker is going to be for Cincinnati in this game. Can they find a way to get a couple turnovers? Because whatever.
It's been so hard, man.
It's been so hard for them to get any kind of function on the defense in terms of turnovers. When you look down, Russ, I don't think they've had a turnover in 4 weeks, maybe is what it feels like. Maybe a little bit longer.
They haven't had an interception since the Utah game, or has it been the Oklahoma State game?
Oklahoma State game.
Yeah.
So you look down, they're going to have to find a way to get a couple of those this weekend. Not just one, but they're going to have to find a way to get 2. And if they are able to do that, cool. I think Cincinnati wins this game pretty hefty per se.
And the numbers agree, Neil, because TCU 18th in the country so far this, or 28th in the country so far this season with 18 total turnovers gained. Cincinnati 116th with just 9 turnovers gained this season. It's a big reason why their margin is where it is right now.
Yeah, absolutely too. And when you look down, it's going to be interesting. Another key factor is what does Cincinnati do on 4th downs this game, especially coming off a game where Steven Rusnak went 0 for 3 from the field goal. So it's going to be interesting. Do they take a different approach, or do they continue to have trust in him in those 4th down situations, 40-yard field goals, 50-yard field goals, whatever it might be? But Russ, for me, in order for them to win this game, they're going to have to play above the sticks, and they're going to have to play aggressive. If they don't do that, this game, it's going to be all TCU, in my opinion, if they don't do that.
And there's no reason not to. You got nothing. You got bowl positioning to lose. I mean, who cares? Just go for it.
But if Cincinnati is able to play above the sticks like they were in the first half of the season, I think this is a game where Cincinnati could win 34-27. But if you're playing behind the sticks like they have been the last 3 weeks, I think that score flips and goes to TCU. But where I'm really feeling in this game is I'm going to go with Cincinnati winning this game. TCU's leading running back is out. Their star safety, Bud Clark, who has 15 interceptions over his career, he is a little banged up. We'll see that on the injury report tonight. So there's a lot of things trending into Cincinnati's favor in this one. So give me 34-27 in favor of the Cats.
There you go. We're both picking wins to close the regular season, and we will find out where the Bearcats go bowling next Sunday. Plenty of more coverage. Love when the team makes a bowl game. We get to cover some more practices, get to talk with the guys some more. And I know the players love that as well, continuing to develop in this program. We'll be back at it after the holiday weekend to cover it all right here on Bearcat Blitz. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, everybody.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big run in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one, too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play